So Elodie,
Yes.
how are we finding the next Adyen for you? And what should it be? What is ICONIQ's investment kind of focus? What type of companies you're looking for? We have over, I think, 1,000 interesting, fast-growing digital companies here at NOAH London. Tell us what companies you're interested to hear from.
Sure. ICONIQ's strategy really focuses around identifying best-in-class opportunities. We define best-in-class as companies that are serving a very large market, companies that are a clear leader in that market, and companies that have entrepreneurs who are maniacal about their product focus. We firmly believe that a quality product that delivers a quality service to its customers should win out in the end. And so those are really the three main drivers when we think about where we want to invest the capital. And we really believe that if you're a market leader, your opportunity is you're going to get 80% market share. And that's going to materialize in the long run in terms of profitability and in terms of exit opportunities. And so that's very much our approach.
Right, and will we see European deals from ICONIQ?
Oh, you better. I hope so. Right now, the team is still pretty new. The fund is relatively new. We're in our third fund at the moment. We already have investments globally, and a lot of our investments that are US-based have significant international presences, so it's certainly something that we think about. My background coming from Insight Venture Partners, I was very involved in our international expansion there, and I hope to be able to help ICONIQ grow its international presence as well. So let's plan on it.
And I mean, you mentioned earlier, I mean, your investors, the investors in ICONIQ, the one you manage the money of, is something like the who's who of Silicon Valley. How much can you really deliver this network, and how does it practically work? Do you have like events where everyone comes together, where you basically have an informal kind of way of intros? Tell us a little bit how it works behind the scene.
Yeah, I think, so the interesting piece of it is that anyone who wants to be a part of the ICONIQ network makes a commitment to us that they will deliver a fixed amount of their time on a yearly basis to our companies. So we really do have a commitment on that front. I think in terms of organized events, it's something that you're going to see a lot more of. The team is still pretty small on the investment side, and we actually yesterday had a 4-hour strategy session around how do we want to think about portfolio operations going forward. We do currently have a portfolio operations team that is very focused on providing these introductions, and really a lot of high quality revenue generating introductions for our portfolio companies. But I think the vision and the opportunity at ICONIQ is really unparalleled relative to a lot of other firms. And so that vision very much is centered around, again, kind of creating an environment where up-and-coming entrepreneurs have direct access to these best-in-class guys. So it'll be done through introductions, it'll be done through very tailored, small focused events. It'll be done through broader events where we bring, larger groups of people together. I think there's a lot of ideas right now, and it'll be interesting to see how we materialize them, but that's the goal.
And your focus on Europe from an investment criteria is clear.
Yeah.
There are some great companies like Adyen and others I'm sure you're working on, but have you been thinking of expanding to Europe, opening an office maybe in London or Berlin, or even sourcing capital from here? I mean, we have some.
So we already have capital from Europe. So I think that's a step in the right direction. We're in the midst of discussing what our kind of broader European strategy should look like. I think for the time being, we're going to stick with the one office approach so that we maintain our ability to conclude investments very rapidly.
And that office is
in San Francisco.
And where in San Francisco?
Pacific Avenue.
Is it in the city or
Yeah,
Palo
it's in the
Alto?
city, sorry. So we actually have one in the city and one in Palo Alto. I work out of the city office. And I think, we've talked about potentially getting some boots on the ground. My experience has been relatively successful working out of a US-based office and just covering Europe very carefully. And so I think we're probably starting with that approach. And then if we see that, the power of our network really delivers what we expect it to be able to deliver, who knows? We're open to anything.
So we were criticized in the past of not having enough women on stage.
Yeah.
Now, we always responded, look, we are just a symptom of a bigger problem, which is starting a lot earlier when CEOs or leaders or C-type of executives get selected. We have a C-only kind of presenter policy, so don't blame us, blame the whole system.
Yes.
Nevertheless, we were told that we are part of it, and at that point we probably wanted to be more humble than people want us to be. So we now have 20% of female speakers,
That's
which
amazing.
is twice as much as we usually have. How do you balance this whole kind of life? Because I think you're also a mother.
I am, yeah.
I mean, how is it doing this job as a mother? I'm sure it's extra tough, right? You have mother responsibilities and
wife responsibilities.
and then
work.
traveling a lot on top.
Yeah. I fail every day. So it's really difficult. I think I live in a state of anguish and of perpetual guilt, because if I am doing well at work, it means I'm not home, and it means I'm not there for my daughter. If I really dedicate time to my daughter and work, then I feel like I'm not there for my husband. So it's really tough. I think the world hasn't figured out how to make it possible for us, socially and just schedule-wise, so that we can feel like we're able to be, thriving. I happen to be very fortunate in my view that I really am passionate about my career. I absolutely love what I do, and I'm just not willing to sacrifice that for, any other cause. And I have a husband who is absolutely the most incredible, supportive man that a woman could wish for, and so I think those are two very critical components to my success.
Did you put him as a nanny? Is he staying?
No, we actually have a nanny. We did talk about it at one point because we felt, it's difficult. I come from a family where my mother was stay at home, and she made all of our Halloween costumes by hand, and she had 3 meals a day home cooked for us, and she picked us up from school and dropped. And the relationship I have with my mother is extraordinary. And so when I think about what I'm able to give my daughter relative to that, it feels just like I'm falling so short. And so he's really tried to pick up some of the slack on that front. But I'm also very hopeful that, especially after the events of the last couple days in the US, hopefully my daughter needs a woman and a strong mother to show her that, women have a place in the business world. They have a place on the global stage. And
let's talk about this, since you are our first American here on stage. I mean, on our continent, people have to resign after the actions they have done. In your country, they seem to be elected as president. I mean, what is going on?
I don't know.
We are very confused.
Yeah, it's really disappointing. Is
it a revolution happening?
I don't know. I've heard a lot of people. I'm speaking for myself, not for ICONIQ, but I've heard a lot of people complaining and stating that this was, the white man's last protest, and that people are angry. And the truth is, I don't know that I ascribe 100% to that. I come from Ohio. I have roots in a very red state. And when you talk to the people there, they aren't necessarily angry. They aren't dumb. They're not idiots. They're not hateful. I think.
So why do they vote Trump?
I think it's just abject failure on behalf of our education system to teach critical thinking and to practice tolerance. And I think when you look at, the media today portrays a world of Kardashians and, this elite image of giant mansions and 15 sports cars, and it really makes people feel like they don't belong to the American culture. It makes people feel like they don't have what everyone else seems to have.
Fascinating.
And I think that disparity between the image of where they should be and where they are creates a lot of unhappiness. And when you combine unhappiness with a lack of focus on critical thinking and exposure to what happens globally, you end up with what happened, right?
And I guess a lot of people who voted, they wanted to be courageous and maybe also curious to see what's happening.
I think people just felt like they didn't have anything to lose. It's like the system wasn't working. And so when you don't have anything to lose, you're willing to make bigger bets. And when you look at, what turned out, the people on the coast are the ones who have more to lose. And so for us, it was obviously a meaningful disappointment. And for those who don't know, they don't know what's going to bring, like why not give it a shot and see what happens? And I think there's been a lot of creation of culture around sort of reality TV and these, huge dramatic explosions of personality. And so a lot of people who identify with that in their daily lives really felt like they could connect to Donald Trump because he speaks their language. He talks in a vocabulary that they identify with, and he talks in gestures that they identify with.
It's easy to understand.
Exactly.
Because it's not complicated what he says.
Right.
Which I'm not sure the world needs.
I agree.
Have you heard of a company called SkyTel from Barcelona, SkyTel? It's a mobile voting business.
Interesting.
It's a quite sizable business. Vi Capital, Paul Allen invested among others.
I think I have heard of them,
And they're basically encouraging mobile voting, very secure. And we went to the European Union to see the digital officer, Dr. Oettinger. And it's all about basically getting the lazy masses to vote by just having one click on the phone and securing democracy that way.
I don't even know if it's I'm going to take issue with calling them the lazy masses. So, for example, I was very, very excited about an opportunity to vote for a woman for president. I followed all of the directions that I was given by the U.S. government. I applied for my absentee ballot because I just moved from New York on the same day as my husband. We had the exact same form filled out. He received his ballot. I never received mine. So
why
I was
didn't
surprised.
you receive it?
I don't know, paper error. So who knows how many people that happens to. And my my father-in-law just recently remarried in the last year, and when his wife went to vote, they demanded a document that showed her maiden name and her married name and her old address and her new address, and her marriage certificate wasn't enough. And I think there are a lot of hurdles that are put in place that keep people who want to vote from voting. And so I think there's really needs to be a lot of thought given to how do we make the system more accessible to everyone, because if as a privileged, white, educated woman, I wasn't able to exercise my right to vote, there are certainly a lot of other people who probably wanted to and just didn't get that chance.
Right.
And then, it leads to perhaps a different outcome than what is representative of what the American people truly want and are about.
Since Mark is one of the persons whose money you are managing, please convey our message to him. We believe that if Facebook, who is a platform to exchange information, should take a more active role in educating, because with social, we really have a chance to get people engaged in important political debates, not decisions, but at least debates. In Switzerland, where I live, you have like a voting system. Everybody basically takes a referendum for any decision. And I think just voting great politicians, like recently in the US, is probably not just the way to go ahead. I think we have a responsibility as digital leaders to...
Yeah, I think the responsibility, honestly, is on everyone, right? Like, I didn't fulfill my responsibility. I should have been a lot more active in reaching out to people that I know don't have the same access to information and don't have the same access to education, and really taking the time, starting 6 years ago, to spend, half an hour every week expressing my ideas and why, I don't know that I put the onus on social media. I put the onus on the American people and on the privileged people who have access to so many things, right? Like, I was born to the right family in the right city, went to the right school.
I was in America last week, and somebody said, it's really bad. I said, what are you talking about? The world has never been bad. I mean, look at the US. It's in great shape. What are you protesting against? I mean, it's like this crazy thought of, I have to do something, the system is bad. But let's talk about your most exciting company. What are the, apart from Adyen, of course, what is the most exciting company in the portfolio of ICONIQ? What are you really excited about, which is probably not the most known business?
I think Blackline is pretty interesting.
The one which went public recently,
it just went
the
public.
accounting software.
Yeah, that's right. So
because you bought into the IPO.
That's right. So it was a really interesting story for ICONIQ, just because it was an investment that was made earlier than our maybe more traditional investment point. We invested when the company was quite small still from an annual recurring revenue standpoint. And it was one where we had a lot of conviction around the team. We had a lot of conviction around the product that they were building and the real pain point that they were solving for. And as the business continued to scale, ICONIQ was there to help fuel all of the growth until it got to an IPO, which is super exciting. And it's always just so gratifying when you're an investor and you feel like you're actually backing the right horses.
What's the market cap of the company?
I don't even know.
Roughly. over a
I
billion?
think it was over $1 billion.
Over
yeah.
$1 billion. And they basically compete with like the Intuits of the world. And
Yep. And they've just done a really great job, and it's, you know, it's exciting.
What I like about ICONIQ, you do the momentum deals, of course, the big ones.
Yeah.
But you also do the very selective pick and choose of stories you like. So you not just go with the herd and the flow. You also have, the odd ones you pick out and support. And I think that's wonderful. And you know, we are here to support the European digital ecosystem, and we often need help of friends.
Yeah.
In your case, from American friends. So please meet as many interesting companies at NOAH as you
I've tried.
can.
Yes.
And we are excited to keep our relationship. We're very happy
Thank you.
have come to NOAH. Thank you so much, Elodie.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.